What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Team Member Perspective podcast show. I'm your host, Colter, and today's episode is going to look a little bit different. I want to talk about something that came up multiple times in a Q&A session we had with our Team Member Perspective group. This was earlier this year, but a common question that just kept popping up was, how do I deal with burnout as a team member? And we can generalize this, right? How do I deal with burnout as a salesperson, as an agent, in life? If you have not experienced burnout, you will. At least those feelings of burnout, being burnt out. Maybe you're going through that right now and you're struggling. Maybe you're not. There's going to come a time where you will, and maybe you've dealt with these things in the past. So my hope today is to bring a few things to the table that have helped me deal with those feelings of burnout, being burnt out, and just deal with the emotional roller coaster that we are having to deal with as team members. I talk about this a lot, but there are days when you get into the office and you're ready to go. The prep work that you did to prepare for the day, you have a positive mindset, you're ready to rock and roll, you're ready to just activity really high and just hit the ground running. You feel really good early on in the day, and something happens and you get a customer that comes in that's really nasty with you. Or maybe you get rejected, right? You hear the word no and it affects you. Although you were feeling on top of the world when you first got into the office, now with a few things happening in the office, now you're feeling down here. So it is an emotional roller coaster where there are some times we're going to feel extremely good, which is easy in those moments, right? But there are times when we feel the complete opposite. We feel empty. We feel at a low spot. We feel down on ourselves. And it's inevitable. It is an emotional roller coaster. And I want to take you through a few things that will help us, in hopes to stay a little bit more level-headed, not take the highs too high or take the lows too low. This is something I've wanted to talk about on this podcast, and honestly want to start talking about it more and with our group of team members, because there is more to selling. There's more to being consistent than just great sales processes, than just developing sales and communication skills. Those things work, but we've got to work. We've got to learn how to deal with ourselves, deal with those emotions. When you're feeling really good, when you're feeling really, down on yourself, we've got to learn how to deal with those things, because it is so common in our industry, in any sort of sales position, to get to a point where you're just like, I'm burnt out. And those times are hard. I'm going to reference back to a Facebook group post that I did in our, the Team Member Perspective Facebook group, which if you're not in there, go ahead and look it up and join. I will admit you in, but a lot of value is shared in this group throughout the week. And so this all stemmed from our Q&A session with our Team Member Perspective group earlier this year. And I just kind of recapped it in the Facebook group. So I'm going to reference to these things that have helped me and other team members deal with these feelings of being burnt out, deal with the emotional roller coaster, and just stay level-headed. Okay, so the first thing, which I think has played a very important role in my development and in my consistency, but also with my mental health, it's simply taking care of your body. There's a documentary on Netflix that I thoroughly enjoy. It's Stutz. It is Jonah Hill's therapist and Jonah Hill. They're talking throughout this full documentary. And Jonah Hill's therapist talks about, it's basically like a few therapy sessions with Jonah Hill and kind of what he does as a therapist. And one of the first parts of this documentary, this therapist brings up this concept of your life force. And it's really three things. And it's a triangle, and there's the bottom section, middle section, and top section. And the bottom section is your relationship with your body. Middle section is your relationship with people, and the top section is the relationship with yourself. So the very bottom section is your relationship with your body. Phil Stutz is the therapist here. He's a psychiatrist. He says that 85% of early therapy gains are down to lifestyle changes, which is interesting. So 85% of early therapy gains are down to lifestyle changes. That's the bottom part of this triangle, the foundation. It's your relationship with your body. And so I'm a big believer that if you just start taking care of your body or do a little bit more for your body, your life will improve significantly. Your ability to deal with these emotions throughout the day will improve significantly. So be aware of what you're eating, right? Your diet is huge. We've all taken a lunch break and went and ate something really greasy and really heavy, And you get back to the office and it's like, oh my goodness, I feel like I need a nap. But the food we eat will dictate how we feel. What we are, if we're intentional with what we're eating, what we're putting into our body, we can really dictate how we're going to feel. So that's a big piece. Second one is just get your blood pumping every day. I feel like exercise and guys, I like to go to the gym. I like to do, weights and I'll do cardio at times. But if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I'm just not a gym person. I'm just not going to do that. That's okay. You don't have to be. Just get your blood pumping. Maybe that's going for a walk. It could be as simple as a walk, a jog. Maybe you swim. Maybe you get involved with, recreational activities, sports. Just do something every day to get your blood pumping, get your blood flowing. The last piece is sleep. As simple as this might sound, guys, get enough sleep. But that bottom section, your relationship with your body, those are some things, some lifestyle changes that you can make that I guarantee you will help you in the team member seat. They will help you deal with those emotions, deal with those feelings of being burnt out. Taking care of our body takes care of our mind. It's funny how that works, but that has been something that has totally helped me find consistency and be able to deal with these emotions is simply taking care of your body. Second one is take care of your mind. Do something every day where you can fill your mind full of positive things. Life is hard enough. We've got enough negative things going on in our lives. We don't need more of that. So for me, I'm naturally a negative thinker, which has been difficult for me. It's extremely hard. It's so easy for my mind to go and think about all of these potential negative things that could happen and focus on problems instead of focusing on what could go right and what, I have going right for me right now and possibility. It's so natural and so easy for me to go and think about those things. For me, taking care of my mind has been so important on a daily basis. And so what I like to do is every single day can kind of monitor how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. But early on in the day, I always make sure to fill my mind full of positive things. So I'll pull up a podcast. I'll just throw that in my ears at the gym. I'll listen to audiobooks. Those are kind of the two main things that I do. And then, every once in a while I'll get a real book and I'll just start reading, right? But I like to do something like that every single day. When I was a team member, I'd do that before I got into the office because it would set me up for success. It would allow me to kind of get my mind where I wanted it to be so I could focus on possibility. I could focus on growth and, what I have, what I'm grateful for. So I had that foundation, that starting place for the day instead of just leaving it up to chance and leaving my mind blank. If I do that, I found that a lot of the negative stuff will find its way in there. And so for me, early on in the day, I like to fill it full of positive things. But then as the day goes on and I'm monitoring how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, if I start to find myself going down this downward spiral of negative thinking, then I will throw in positive stuff in my ears again, right? And so it's like a muscle and I've gotten a lot better, but taking care of my mind every day has been so important for me. It's the simple idea of like, look, in the morning, if I can start to think positively, if I can just start my day off that way, positive thoughts are going to lead to me feeling positive feelings. And if I can feel positive when I show up to work, I'm going to have a positive attitude. And when I have that positive attitude, I am way more proactive. I'm recognizing things that I wouldn't if I was thinking negatively. And when I recognize those opportunities, you better believe I'm taking advantage of them. And I'm actually doing what I need to do to get the results that I want. And so taking care of my mind has been an absolute necessity. It's been an absolute non-negotiable for me now because of what I've seen and really just dealing with those feelings. Because, I don't think I'll ever get to a place where I don't have to work on the way I'm thinking as much as I do. I think I'm going to constantly have to be doing these things every day, but it has made all of the difference in the way that I'm thinking about life, thinking about my role in the agency and how I feel about it, and really finding more fulfillment in the everyday things as a team member, but also in life in general. Next thing is that, evaluate your current thinking patterns. We are creatures of patterns, down to what we eat. There are a few staple meals that I eat every single week. In fact, right now, a pattern that me and my son are in is we eat eggs every single morning. We eat eggs. You drive the same way to work, I would argue. You're in that pattern. And so we are creatures of patterns, down to our thinking. And so I want you to ask yourself, are my current thinking patterns serving me? It's huge. Are your current patterns serving you? You need to evaluate those things. Kind of touched on this, but it's a skill that you can learn of directing and redirecting your thoughts towards what you want and possibility instead of letting your thoughts go rogue and just go down to problem thinking and thinking about all of the reasons that this could go wrong in kind of a negative pattern. So it's like a muscle. You've got to work it, and it's not just going to happen overnight. And odds are, it's going to take a lot of work. At least that's been the case for me. And so, evaluate your current thinking patterns. Are they serving you? Okay, because everything starts with your thoughts. Your thoughts will dictate how you feel, which usually dictates what we do, right? So if we just reverse engineer it, you've got to evaluate those thinking patterns. Are they serving me? And it's been a big deal for me. The next thing is really just a frame to look at the team member role through. If you're an agent, look at agency through this frame. And I think just life in general. And it's the simple idea that in this business and in life, we are in a marathon, not a sprint. So easy for us to just honestly, like whether we realize it or not, kind of view what we do as a sprint, right? Instead of a marathon. If you think about, the two, they're completely different races. The way that you would train for a sprint is completely different than the way you would train for a marathon. Marathon is more like we need to build endurance. We need to be able to do this consistently at this level instead of a sprint being like, I'm going to go, balls to the wall and hit it really hard for a short burst, but then I'm going to have to start over again. And so viewing like we are in a marathon, not a sprint, allows you to kind of set up your role in the agency, set up your life in a way to where you can create sustainability, right? To where you can create consistency. Think through that. Like, how can you set up your role in a way that it becomes more sustainable, that allows you to be more consistent without having to work really, 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 really hard. And then you do what you need to do. And now it's like, oh, I need a break. I need a rest. I think that's when burnout comes. So it's like work really, really hard. And now we're coming down. Find a way to just be consistent, right? To where you're not overworking yourself, but you're still doing what you need to do to be consistent, but also to be sustainable. 50 Cent, rapper, we all know him. This guy's a businessman as well. I saw something, I saw him talking, it was on Instagram or something. He was talking about the way he thought, when he first started out rapping, right? He always said, like, once I got one hit that was, on the charts, he used the word cringe. Like, I would cringe to get the next hit. That's how winners think, right? You don't want to be a one-hit wonder. You've got plenty of those. Find a way to be consistent. Find a way to make it sustainable so you can be consistent. And I think the way that you think about and view what you're doing is the first place that you need to kind of evaluate how you're thinking about it. The next thing is define success in the sowing, not the reaping, right? Control what you can control. So it's so simple, but it's not, right? It's easier said than done. Let's put it that way. But we need to find a way how we can marry the process, divorce the results. And, as I've been around people that are doing big things, it's like they all have gotten better and better at managing this within themselves, of defining success in the sowing of your actions that you can control and not the reaping or the results. Especially as team members, guys, this is so important. Are you holding yourself accountable to things that you can control or things that you can't control? Because if we think about it, like, what elements in, let's say, selling life insurance do you have control over? Well, I'd argue you have control over the phone calls that you make. I would argue that you have control over bringing up life insurance or not. And I think there's a level of control of getting people quotes. But on the flip side, what you don't necessarily have control over is what the customer's ultimately going to decide, their decision. And so if we're only holding ourselves accountable for results, that's really a formula to feeling discouraged, to feeling burnt out, because we're only satisfied if the customer decides to buy. But there's that element of control. We don't have control of a lot of that. We have influence, but instead of really focusing on the results and those things that we don't necessarily have control on over, what if we just went all in on what we can control, of having more conversations consistently, of getting people quotes delivered more consistently, of calling more people. Like, what if we just put all of our effort into that? I think the results are going to take care of themselves, and we will be able to better avoid or deal with feelings of being burnt out. Okay. So the way that you're holding yourself accountable is huge. It's very important. So evaluate that. Okay. Next thing, if you keep showing up, you're winning. Just keep showing up. Showing up is half the battle. But even on the days that are extremely hard, because guys, we know it's super easy to show up on a day when you're just on top of the world, you're ready to tackle the day, or you're ready to tackle the afternoon or whatever it is. It's easy to show up then. Work to just show up, even on the days that you don't feel like it at all. Even on the days that you're not confident in yourself, when you hear no from a customer 15 times that day, show up, keep showing up. It's half the battle. And in my experience, on the times and on the days when I'm feeling really burnt out, when I'm feeling empty, I'm feeling down on myself, low, when I just still commit to just showing up and just keep on going one foot in front of the other, those feelings are going to end. Right? It's not going to last forever. You're not going to feel like that forever. But I feel like movement allows us to kind of get out of those feelings. And that is truly, truly helped me. Next thing is staying level-headed. Like, understand that, like, right now, if things aren't going well for you and you're struggling mentally or in your production, just understand that that's going to end. That's not going to last forever. Now, if things are going really well for you right now and you feel good and you're motivated, you're excited, and production's where you want it to be, understand that that's not going to last forever either. Like, we've got to stay level-headed through the highs, through the lows. We do not want to get too high with the highs, too low with the lows. Because again, we're going to get discouraged. Learning to stay level-headed allows us to find that consistency, to find something that works for us in a sustainable way. And being able to do those things helps us with feeling burnt out. Next thing, this is a principle that I learned when I was a missionary. I did that for 2 years, which totally has helped me in all of my sales positions and in business sense and in life. Forget yourself and go to work. The times that you are feeling, at a low, you're feeling down, in my experience, have been the times that I'm thinking about myself too much. Just thinking too much about myself. And so what I learned when I was a missionary is, like, as a missionary, I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about others. I'm finding a way to help others, to serve others. And am I saying that was super easy to do? No, like, it was very difficult. I put myself in a position where I really didn't have a choice. I was uncomfortable. I had to learn how to deal with those emotions. But I'll tell you, the times that I was thinking less about myself and I was focused more on others and helping others were the times where I felt the most happy. I don't know if happy is the right word. I felt the most fulfillment, right? I didn't feel these negative feelings, these negative emotions, because I wasn't thinking about myself. So when I'm feeling negative, down, or empty, I find that I'm usually hyper-focusing on myself. What has always helped me is to just simply forget about myself and go to work. Forget about myself and serve others, and find a way to help people. And, as a team member, you're like, frame it differently, right? Like, you're not selling people. You're serving people, you're helping people. And, if you can look at it in that way and really just let that principle sink in and actually implement it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm sure that you've experienced it, but the times when you're feeling down, you're feeling empty, negative, like, just kind of evaluate, what have you been thinking about? Are you focusing on yourself, or are you focusing on others and helping others? The two more things as we wrap up this episode is, the next one is just simply being present, right? When we're focusing on future things and we're thinking about the future so much, we're going to start to feel a little bit anxious, right? Because there's things that we don't know what the future holds. And when we start thinking too much about that, we have those feelings of anxiety because we feel like it's out of our control. And I'm a big culprit of this. I deal with those feelings, but it's every time I kind of evaluate my thinking patterns and I evaluate why I'm feeling this way, I identify that, look, you're focusing so much on the future. You're worried too much about what's going to happen tomorrow instead of focusing on today. Some of us might be living in the past. I've been there. You're living in a point where, if you focus too much on the past and what you wish you would have done, what you could have done, you're going to have feelings of regret. So focusing too much on the future brings feelings of anxiety. Those are hard to deal with. Those are negative feelings. Focusing too much on the past brings feelings of regret, right? If we're focusing on the wrong things. I'm not saying that you can't look to the future in an optimistic way, possibility to where it fuels you and it gets you excited and helps you focus on possibility, focus on growth, focus on what you can do and what's possible. Or if you look at the past and look at all of your accomplishments and what you've done and everything that that you're grateful for and how everything's happened for a reason and you're grateful for where life is today. I'm not saying that those two things won't serve you, because they absolutely will. What I'm saying is that if you find yourself feeling burnt out, if you find yourself feeling negative, down, empty, evaluate what you've been thinking about, because it could be the future and you're feeling a little anxious because you feel like it's out of your control. It could be the past and you're feeling those feelings of regret. But being present, living today, will help alleviate a lot of that. Right? It will help alleviate feelings of being burnt out. Just take one day at a time. Focus in on today. Make today the best that it can be with 100% of your time and attention. And tomorrow's going to take care of itself. When I say be present, it means, if you are with a customer on the phone, but you're a little like you've got the phone ringing, people are walking in the office, find a way to be present with that customer. Be where your feet are. You might be with them on the phone, but mentally you might be like, oh my gosh, I got to get off this phone as soon as I can so I can take care of all these people coming in the office, all these phone calls coming in. Like, you're not being present in that moment, right? Find a way to be present. You're going to recognize more opportunities. You're going to be able to help more people. And you're going to be able to better deal with these feelings of being burnt out, right? Even with your kids after you get home, this is a big focus for me is, if I'm with my kids and I'm with my family, I want to be with my family, because it's so easy for me to just get on the phone, start scrolling. When I'm with my kids, I'm not being present in that moment. And so that is something that I'm working on. That's a big goal for me in 2024. And it's something that I revisit often because it's so important to me. And I've found that when I am present in the moment, I am more fulfilled with everything in life. My position as a salesperson in the agency, my position as a father in my family, with my son, with my daughter, with my wife, and just in life in general. So find a way to be present. Let that one sink in a little bit. That right there has solved a lot of my overthinking. My hope is that it can help solve some of yours as well. And then the last piece that I want to share in regards to dealing with this emotional roller coaster and feeling burnt out is the simple principle of surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded, people that are big thinkers. Surround yourself with winners, right? The people that we surround ourselves with will directly impact the way we think about life, the way we think about our position in the agency, what we think is possible, what we don't think is possible. They will influence the way that you think. So if you're around people that think small, that are thinking about negative things, that are, all they have to say is, all of this pity talk and, sorry for me, sorry for this. Like if they're in these negative thinking patterns, guess what? You're going to be thinking the same way. They're going to rub off on you. Like, it's so important. Surround yourself with people that are thinking big, that are thinking positive, and your life will change. And I think you got to audit your circle, right? And it's not something that you do once and it's over. I think you got to continue to audit the people in your life. Like, are they helping you and are they serving you, or are they limiting you and causing you to think negatively and stay in that thinking pattern? Upgrade the people around you. And, that's a big reason why the team member perspective was started, is to provide an environment, to provide this community of like-minded team members that want more, that want to get better, that want to learn from other top producers across the country. Because when you can get around people like that and in a community like that, you find a support group, right? You find that you're able to recharge, share ideas, collaborate, and those things will truly affect everything. It will affect your production and it will change your life. And so, team members listening to this, if you are not in a place where you are surrounding yourself with like-minded people that are thinking bigger than you, that are, very optimistic and that are just winning, get yourself around those people consistently. Get yourself around those top producing team members. Learn from them. Let them rub off on you. And that's what we do in the team member perspective. So reach out. We'd love to have you. Agents, get your team members in the rooms of top producing team members. Get them around those people. It's going to affect everything in your agency. Your agency will change. It will get to the level that you want it to get, and it will keep going. But it all starts with your people. You've got to develop your people. Get them around people that you want them to become. Like, you think about your ideal team, think about like what you want, what qualities that they represent and how they carry themselves. Just get your team around winners, because odds are they spend enough time around these winners, these top producing team members. They spend enough time, they're going to learn from them. These top producers are going to rub off on them down to the way that they think, which is going to influence production. Odds are your team, you team members, you're going to become the next top producer. And that's what we're seeing in this group. And that's what I've seen in my life so many times. And so, guys, I hope this helps. Know if you are currently struggling with these feelings, you're not alone. Nothing is wrong. You can't, things are going to get better for you, right? If things are going not the way that you want, you're struggling, just know that that's going to end. Things will get better for you. On the flip side, guys, if things are going really well, just know that those will end as well. And so utilize these things that we've talked about, or whatever helps you to really bounce back and to create something that's more sustainable so you can be consistent and ultimately so you can deal with the everyday emotions of being a team member. Because, guys, again, it's not easy, but we just get better. And my hope is that these things will help you guys. So again, appreciate you guys for always tuning in. We would love to have you part of our Team Member Perspective group. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If not, we will catch you in the next episode.